I want to make it clear, I'm going to raise some taxes.
All of a sudden, when it's about our students,
let me just do this.
The joint resolution is passed.
Biden hits some bipartisan roadblocks. Lori Lightfoot is out in Chicago. A crazy student hostage negotiator yells at the Supreme Court. And Joe Biden's weird nurse story. Also, California ended its state of emergency yesterday. Wow, lots to get to. All that and more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in. My name is Jobob. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
2, 1.
here we go.
Might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually her name, Jobob.
Live from the dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in on today. It is March 1st, the year of our Lord, 2023. A lot going on. Joe Biden hit some big roadblocks with his ESG investment plan. We'll get to that coming up. But first, I want to get to this weird Joe Biden story again. I feel odd with the president being as odd as he is, doing constantly, every single day, it seems like, Joe Biden said this, Joe Biden said that. I get it. I'm somewhat tired of it as well. At the same time, if he wouldn't say weird things, we wouldn't have to talk about it. Because again, he is the leader of the free world, and I feel like that's relevant in some way, shape, or form. First, I want you to watch this clip. This is him in Virginia Beach talking yesterday. This is regarding taxes and stuff like that. We'll talk about it for a second. But then after that, I want to play this clip that is just bizarre. I think I'm going to make we'll tell you. Watch this clip from Joe Biden talking about billionaires and taxes. He said he has a clip out there that's going to be used in Republican commercials through the dawn of time. And, you know, he shouldn't have said it, or at least shouldn't have phrased it the way he did. Watch this.
Invest in America, lower health costs, and protect and strengthen Social Security and Medicare while cutting the deficit more than $2 trillion over the next 10 years. But by the way, I want to make it clear, I'm going to raise some taxes. Many of you are billionaires out there, you're going to stop paying at 3%. Not a joke.
Okay, so he continues to go on. So just to reset this up, and I feel like a broken record because we've said this so many times. Nobody, including the leftiest of lefty news outlets, believes that Joe Biden has, quote unquote, cut the deficit. Because remember, he tried to pass the Build Back Better initiative plan, bill, whatever it was, that didn't end up passing, that would have spent, I think, at its peak, $6 trillion more dollars. So if you try to pass a bill that's going to spend $6 trillion and it doesn't pass because it's insane, you don't get to go around taking credit for the fact that you're spending less money. That's like if I were to go try and buy a boat and it's a $100,000 boat and I swipe my credit card and it gets declined because they're like, hey, you don't have the money for this sort of thing. I don't get to go home and brag to my wife, babe, look, we're saving money here. We didn't buy that boat. They're like, no, you tried to buy the boat. You tried to spend all the money. You don't get to say, oh, well, I'm saving money. The deficit has never been higher. Lower. You don't get to say that. Then he talks about the whole billionaire thing, which this is an interesting one. I feel like I get into online, I don't want to say beefs, but I always want to make it clear when people use this dumb talking point about billionaires need to pay their fair share and a school teacher should never pay more in taxes than a billionaire. I always comment something like, they don't. Next question. Moving on. Thanks. Glad we solved that problem. Because, of course, billionaires / rich people in general, you know how they get rich? Well, they generally own something, and it's generally a company which is an economic machine that has to pay taxes. Payroll tax is a huge thing among many of the other business-related taxes. So if you're a billionaire or multimillionaire, whatever, if you have a lot of money, chances are, and by chances are, I mean 100% of the time, you're employing people and therefore creating a business. Now, that's not the argument I'm trying to make. The argument I'm trying to make here, I mean, even though that's a good argument of stirring the economy is always a good thing, the argument I'm trying to make is there are several taxes that are already instituted in all of the different areas in which a billionaire makes their money. So to claim that billionaires pay less taxes, and again, I'm not sitting here trying to defend billionaires. I'm trying to speak honestly about the tax code. Bottom line is, if you're super rich, you're going to pay a litany of different taxes and fees in order to maintain your businesses and your wealth. That's just a flat out lie. Now on to the weird thing. This was bizarre. I don't really know what is going on in this clip. I'm gonna play you this clip of Joe Biden in Virginia Beach talking about a nurse who would come in and check on him. I believe he also says in the military, which I believe he avoided through his entire youth. There's a lot going on here, and we might have to listen to it a couple times just to unpack it. Watch this clip and see if you can follow. I know it's a little bit difficult to hear, so maybe we'll continue kind of playing it again. But let me know what you think in the comment section, because I have a feeling you're going to be as befuddled as I am listening to whatever this is from the President of the United States. Watch this.
And I had a nurse named Pearl Nelson in the military. She'd come in and do things that I don't think you learn in medical school, nursing school. She'd whisper in my ear. I couldn't understand her, but she'd whisper, she'd lean down. She'd actually breathe on me to make sure that there was a connection, a human connection. She even went home and brought back her pillow from her own bed because she knew the one I had, the one comfortable. But I'm not joking.
Okay. All right. This is how we have to do this. We have to take this clip by clip here. We're just going to play this just flat out and talk about what is going on in each section of this very short but insanely bizarre story that kind of just went on. I don't know. Let's take a listen and go clip by, or go statement by statement.
And I had a nurse named Pearl Nelson in the military.
Okay, he had a nurse named Pearl Nelson. Military, or did he say in the military? I couldn't quite hear that well, but again, I don't know when Joe Biden was ever in the military. Maybe I'm wrong, but to my recollection, him and all of the most recent presidents did not do any sort of military service. So there's that, and so okay, so he had a nurse named Pearl who was a military nurse, and what else did she do?
She'd come in and do things that I don't think you learn in medical school, nursing school.
Is that a weird sexual thing? Like, what? Like, that's like the lead up to some sort of X-rated, R-rated film / scene. She went to nursing school, but she did a bunch of stuff that you don't learn in nursing school. That's an odd thing to say, but okay, what is it, Mr. President? What did she do that you don't learn in nursing school?
Whisper in my ear. I couldn't understand her. She'd whisper, she'd lean down. She'd actually breathe on me to make sure that there was a connection, a human connection.
Huh? Apparently, I guess in this situation, Joe Biden is asleep. If you hadn't deducted that from the story, I would imagine that that's what's going on here. Joe Biden is asleep, and a military nurse, came into the room while he was sleeping to do things that you don't learn in nursing school, and then would whisper in his ear, "True and dashed up into pressure." But he couldn't understand her. So then she would breathe on him. and to make sure that there was a human connection. What else did Nurse Pearl do, Mr. President?
She even went home and brought back her pillow from her own bed because she knew the one had the one comfortable.
Okay, so she would come in the room, she would breathe on him, and then she would go home. Now, I'm not sure the order of operations here. Maybe she went home before she did her breathing exercise on the president. But as it stands, she'd come in the room, whisper in his ear. He couldn't understand her, so she would breathe on him, create a connection. Then she would go home and get her pillow because she wasn't comfortable with the pillows there. Is she sleeping in the same bed as the president? I don't know what's going on here. But then he wraps it up with the famous Joe Biden saying,
But I'm not joking.
he's not joking. None of that was a joke, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know. The military nurse Pearl would do things they didn't teach you in nursing school. And then she'd come in, whisper in his ear, then breathe on him, then go get her pillow because the pillows that they had there weren't comfortable. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about constantly having to do this sort of thing, dissect a weird story from the president. But such is the modern times. Let me see in the comment section if there's anything. It's just a lot of these. Caitlin has just the crying, laughing face. Maria takes it sad. And this is true. This is just sad. She says, how can his family let him embarrass himself like this? Sad crying face. Yeah, that is sad. But back to the funny. Laura says, LOL, WTF, LOL. Marcel has the crying, laughing face. Yeah, that seems to be the case here. Lots of WTFs. Ryan says, that's your president. Yep, that's what's going on there. WTF again. There's a bunch of this in the comment section. So I guess that's what you think. First of all, thanks for commenting in the comment section. If you haven't already, would really appreciate it if you click the little like button and the little share button. Let us know in the comment section what you think about what's going on here. Would really appreciate it. I won't spend a ton of time on this, but I got to move to this. The Wicked Witch of the Midwest is no more. Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago, is out. There was a primary in Chicago last night in which, so they have these primaries races. Well, you know what a primary is. The top two finishers get to run on into the runoff. And Lori Lightfoot didn't even make the top two. The current mayor of Chicago got 16% of the vote in the primary and will officially no longer be the mayor of Chicago as soon as the new mayor is inaugurated. I wonder how that happened. Who knows? Maybe it was because she didn't do anything to address the rising crime in Chicago. She made weird pronouncements and rules for her office in which she wouldn't take any interviews from any reporter that wasn't a black or brown journalist, which, of course, if you've been watching the show for the last couple of years, you know that I formally submitted several requests to Lori Lightfoot's office for a chance to interview the great Chicago mayor and was never hit back up. So, I guess it was some black and brown reporters. Not that I'm a reporter, but yeah. So I did want to play this clip. This is her concession speech or whatever it is. It's really just the end part of it that I would like to comment on before we move on. Wow, we got to go. Okay, so check this out.
Let me just do this. So thank you and thank everyone so much. I feel a lot of love in this room as I've felt every step of the way on this journey. I've called Brandon Johnson and Paul Vallis to congratulate them on their victories in advancing to the runoffs. We were fierce competitors in these last few months, but I will be rooting and praying for our next mayor to deliver for the people of the city for years to come.
Your class act,
Thank you.
So that's the thing that I want to comment on at the very end here. Somebody yells something inaudible. I don't know what they said. And then a bunch of people start cheering, which reminded me that there's a bunch of people in that room hoping that Lori Lightfoot would win elections. And the question that I have for all of those people that aren't media they're reporting, but are just supporters of Lori Lightfoot is, how low is the bar in your world? Given Lori Lightfoot's several infractions, we'll say, to put it nicely, what has to happen for her to no longer be the pinnacle of mayoral success in Chicago for those people? It blows my mind sometimes that there are people with a mayor, a sitting mayor of a city, getting 16% of the vote is horrible. And so for those 16% of people in Chicago, I ask, and I would love, if you're in Chicago and you voted for Lori Lightfoot, first of all, thanks for watching the show. I would imagine you're not super thrilled about any of the things that we talk about. But I would love to know, where is the bar? What color is the sky in your world? I don't know, but I would love to dig inside your head and understand why you went to the ballot box and went, yeah, Lori Lightfoot is awesome. Lori Lightfoot, that's who I'm voting for to continue on as mayor of the Windy City. I don't know who you are, but I would love to be your friend. Just if only to ask a couple questions. Wow, there is a lot going on today that I got to get to. Let me get to this. Well, shoot. Yeah, let me get to this really quick. This is another Biden thing. This is actually important. Not that, well, first of all, everything we talk about on this show is important. However, some things are substantially more important than others, and this story is one of them. If you remember a couple weeks ago, we talked about the Biden administration's new rules regarding finance/investing and ESG. Forever, the rule has been that an investment firm or an investor that handles retirement plans, pensions, 401ks, all of it, you name it, has a fiduciary duty and legal obligation to do what's best in the investor's financial interest. In other words, it is illegal to be reckless with other people's money. Fine, I get it, that makes sense, cool. As of January, the Biden administration instituted new rules that would allow investors to not just invest in financial interests, but instead open that up to invest in ESG, which is environmental social governance. That's what that stands for. So in other words, companies are rated on their ESG scores. I think personally, I only really care about their bottom line. If I'm an investor and I'm investing in a company and my 401k is wrapped up in company X, I don't really care about anything else other than, okay, what is your revenue? What is your profit margin? Because that helps me as a shareholder or as a pension holder or as a 401k account holder, helps me in my retirement. That is the fiduciary obligation of financial investment firms. However, the Biden administration said, well, okay, you can look at the revenue and the profit to best suit your clients, but you can also take into consideration the social credit score, which is ESG of the company. So what it is allowing to do is the Biden administration is allowing investors who hold money in your 401k, who invest on your behalf, to not only look at profits that would help you in your retirement, but also how well is this company in regards to climate change and diversity? Well, this company over here has a much better revenue model and profits are substantially higher, but this company has a lot of minorities in their leadership. They struggle severely with revenue and have lost money every single year, but we like the social component of this company, so your money is going there. That's basically what the Biden administration is allowing. Now, the good news that we brought to you a couple weeks ago is Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat, West Virginia, brought a bipartisan bill to the Senate floor. Well, I think it's in committee at the moment, to stop this. And yesterday, the House also in a bipartisan move, voted to stop this. This is what happened on the House floor yesterday. We won't play this entire clip because we're running out of time here because I went too long about Joe Biden's weird nurse story. But check this out. This is what's happening in the House floor. This is a bipartisan move to stop the insanity of not obligating investors to act in your best financial interest. This quick clip, watch this.
On this vote, the yeas are 216 and the nays are 204. The joint resolution is passed.
Due to Biden's reckless economic policies, too many Americans are worried about rising cost of living. Diverting retirement savings to fund social justice causes will make this problem even worse. And for current retirees, the situation is especially salient.
This new rule from the Biden administration says that investment decisions in employer-sponsored retirement plans can be based on climate change and other environmental, social, or governance factors.
Okay, and then Ilhan Omar does a thing, and she's for it, but she says some things that are just dumb, and it's kind of long, so I'm not going to play that to you. But I did want to bring up this comment. This is actually a great freaking point. The amount of pump and dumps that are going to result from this is going to be ridiculous. This is Ryan, who watches every single day. But, dude, Ryan, I appreciate you, man. But also, this is a fantastic point. If I were a publicly traded company and my revenue model wasn't great, or the thing that I made wasn't selling, or the service I provided wasn't getting any traction, I would just go hire a bunch of minorities, which is bad for everybody. That came out wrong. Bad for... When you hire people based on their skin color, it's bad for them and bad for the society as a whole, because you diminish the value that they actually bring. I've experienced this firsthand, and I hate it. Anyways, if people were allowed to invest based on ESG, I would just go hire whoever I needed to qualify for diversity, and then put some dumb climate thing out saying, well, the climate is yada, 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 and get a super high ESG score, get a bunch of investors, and then cash out and leave the casino. That's a great point. But the bottom line here is that the House now and the Senate have bipartisan support for this bill that would ban this new law that the Biden administration instituted in January. On Monday, however, the Biden White House said that they would veto that bill if it were to come to the president's desk, which would be fascinating. I would be curious to see if there's enough support to override the veto. I would imagine if the Senate is being honest with themselves, there is, because they know that their constituency is going to be affected by this. So there's that. Let's see. All right. Dang, we still have so much to talk about. All right, let's get, so this is Randy Weingarten. This is entirely shift, but we talked about this yesterday. The student loan debt forgiveness, which is really just a debt transfer for people who took out money and don't want to repay it, is at the Supreme Court now, and several people are quite upset, including the American Federation of Teachers president, Randy Weingarten, who is, in my opinion, a hostage negotiator. I'll tell you why in a second. But I want you to watch this clip of the teachers union boss lady losing her mind on the steps of the Supreme Court yesterday as she fights hard for an unconstitutional rule that is no way going to pass the Supreme Court. Watch this.
And frankly, and this is what really pisses me off, during the pandemic, we understood that small businesses were hurting, and we helped them, and it didn't go to the Supreme Court to challenge it. Big businesses were hurting, and we helped them, and it didn't go to the Supreme Court to challenge it. All of a sudden, when it's about our students, they challenge it, the corporations challenge it, the student loan lenders challenge it. That is not right, that is not fair, and that is what we are fighting as well when we say cancel student debt.
Oh, what a weirdo. side tangent really quick. I've noticed, as a person who speaks publicly in front of people quite a bit, I've noticed that when you don't have anything influential or interesting to say, you raise the volume and the anger swells because what you're saying is bunk. Now, she put out some pretty interesting points there. She said, well, when small businesses were hurting, we helped them. She's talking about the PPP loan. That's an argument that a bunch of people that are anti-student loan forgiveness people, if you're pro-student loan, quote unquote, forgiveness, if you're pro-student loan debt transfer, you point to the PPP loan. Now, there's a few glaring differences. First of which, she pointed out saying, well, we helped small businesses and that didn't go to the Supreme Court. Yeah, that's because Congress passed a law. This is not the same thing as that, regardless of whether or not the functions are the same, which they're not. But even if they were, how the process got to be is insanely different. If Congress passes a bill, that's not the same as the president issuing an executive order to spend money. Congress has power of the purse, and they voted for the PPP loans to help bail businesses out when COVID hit. That's just the reality of how spending works, Randy. So there's that. And also, just an obvious thing to point out, when people took PPP loan money, the business owners didn't just pocket that. That wasn't how those worked. The entirety of the PPP loan was supposed to be spent on expenses, in 80% of them which were employees. So the business owners didn't just get to pocket the money like the student loan debt forgiveness would be. It had to be dispersed outward. So to compare the two is just a disingenuous argument, and also just factually wrong when you're looking at it as, well, how come this didn't go to the Supreme Court? Because it was a bill passed by Congress. Nancy Pelosi herself and Joe Biden said, well, the president can't forgive loans. It's got to be an act of Congress. And Congress isn't going to do it because they understand the blowback that would be issued because of it. So there's that. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the fact that Randy Weingarten, remember, held students hostage at home far past when it was necessary, if you even think it was necessary at all. Remember, the students around the country were not allowed to go back into schools probably almost a year after the rest of the developed world went back to schools. And why is that? Well, it's because of this lady, Randy Weingarten, the president of the American Federation of Teachers, said, no, we want more money. For a lot of different reasons. They wanted more money to, quote unquote, keep teachers safe, even though none of the money actually went to the air filtration mechanisms and the safety amenities that she promised or said they were going to go to. Instead, they all went to backfill the failing teachers' pensions in so many places. But she used your kids as a negotiating tactic and held them home as hostages effectively while she tried to take more money from the government. So that's the kind of person this is. She has nothing good to say, so she just yells and hopes that people get on her side, making bad arguments. And yes, I'll call her a bad person. She's a bad person. When kids should have gone back to school to avoid the massive amount of learning loss that would have already taken place because they kept them out for a year, she held out because she wanted more of your money. Not to mention the American Teachers Federation, I believe, coordinated with the CDC to issue safety guidelines and all that sort of stuff. But bottom line is, she's a bad person. She's arguing a bad point, and so she has to yell about it to try and make it stick. Screw you, Randy Weingarten. All right, jeez, we're out of time, but I want to get this headline on the airwaves really quick. The COVID emergency in California is officially over. Thank goodness. I, for one, have been staying home for the entirety of the pandemic. I have not seen a single person in my sphere of families and friends because it just wasn't safe. There was an emergency going on. Almost 3 years to the day almost. Governor King Dictator Gavin Newsom officially relinquished California of their emergency status yesterday. There was no press conference. There was no public statements. There was nothing because Gavin didn't want to remind everybody, wait a minute, you still had emergency powers? Yes. So 3 years of emergency in California. It is finally over because Gavin Newsom is running for president and really doesn't want this blemish on his record. But hopefully the American people, but Californians specifically, don't forget the terribleness and the awfulness that Gavin Newsom dictated on the entire state of California during his 3-year tyrannical emergency-led reign on the people of the Golden State. To remind everybody, too, really quickly about what he did, among many other things, I wanted to play this very quick clip from Shannon Grove, a California state senator, highlighting a bunch of the things that went on during Gavin's tyrannical reign over California. Watch this.
And when you think about it, what he's done as being the one-man rule in this state for almost 3 years, we've had learning loss, achievement gaps. We have 85% of our Black students are below the math and science threshold. They've been left behind. That's why we introduced a bill that says that, the money should follow the student, right? So that low-performing schools don't get students just based on their zip code, that parents can use those resources and send them to whatever school that they think will benefit their students. And it's just ridiculous that, like I said, going back to the beginning of my statement, that on October 22nd, 2022, the governor said February 28th is the day. What makes February 28th so special?
Yeah, probably because it didn't actually get to that 3-year threshold, because that would have made headlines everywhere, and I would imagine that would be bad PR for the future presidential candidate, Gavin Newsom. But yes, all of those things that Senator Grove pointed out are laid at the feet of King Dictator Gavin, and he doesn't want to bring attention to it. So hopefully people around the country, and especially in the state of California, do not forget. But I don't know. I have not a ton of faith that the media will cover it as they should, that Gavin Newsom held on to power as long as he possibly could, and at the peril of everybody who lives in this state. Anyways, that'll do it for us today. Appreciate you sticking around, tuning in. We went a little bit over, but also we started a little bit early, so I guess that's fine. Let's see. If you haven't already, give me a follow on any of your social media accounts. Just type in JOBOB, pretty much anywhere, Instagram, Facebook. If you're watching this on my Facebook, make sure you like the page itself. And also, so I've heard a bunch of this in the comment section, that you don't get notified anymore. You can click, just type in just JOBOB. You'll find my page, but you can also click the little notification so you know when we're live and you know when we post videos. We're doing a lot more video stuff on that particular page as of right now. So that is how you can best help and best support the show and continue rolling on, especially if you're watching on Facebook. Let's see, any announcements tonight? If you live in these, speaking of California being out of emergency, this is the first time I will be leaving my home in 3 years, and I will be doing so with Charlie Kirk on the University of California at Santa Barbara tonight, this evening. Charlie will be on the walk talking to people. I'm not sure what time yet, which is always some great content. But we have a big event in Santa Barbara tonight at, I believe, 7 p.m., University of California, Santa Barbara. If you are in the area and around and want to say hello, I would love to meet you in person. Also in Vista, California, this Friday. Tickets are still available for the comedy show. That's just me. Actually, I'm bringing some fun friends, too, so that should be fun. And then next week, Wednesday, we are in Lexington, Kentucky at the University of Kentucky, myself and Charlie Kirk. And then the following day, Thursday of next week, it is myself, Charlie Kirk, and Candace Owens at the University of Illinois, Chicago. So if you live in any of those areas and you'd like to stop by and say hello, I would love to meet you in person. I really do enjoy meeting people who watch this show in real life. I don't know. It's always fun. There's always a couple around, and I really do appreciate it. Seriously. So let's see. We'll see you back here, same time, same place tomorrow with anything new that happens over the next several hours. See you then. God bless America.